Alright guys, 5 days have passed since the latest patch came out, so now we have enough real stats to really see what the new best top 5 decks in Hearthstone are right now. So in this video we're gonna look at 5 of the best decks, talk about their mulligans, win rates, as well as some general tips so you know how to play with and against them, but we're also gonna check out all of the other working archetypes for each individual class, so you can still play your favorite one. We're also gonna look at what are the most popular decks after the patch came out as well, so you have a better idea of what you will be facing depending on the class you see. So if you guys are serious about Hearthstone and want to improve, drop a like and subscribe to the channel, and don't forget you can have some Hearthstone coaching, as well as check out my Hearthstone Metafy masterclasses. Now, let's check out the decks.
You are not prepared!
The first deck on the list is actually going to be Pirate Shaman, and I honestly did not expect this. I did give you guys a Pirate Shaman list last night, but the deck felt okay. Nothing really to write home about that much. Like, it curves out fine, it deals fine damage, it wins decently well. Didn't feel like the top tier deck or anything like that, but according to the stats, it's actually indeed the best deck right now from Diamond to Legend, at least for the last 3 days. And this is very close to the variant I showed you. Actually, the one I showed you has like 8 more thousand games sample size for the same time. This one has 1,000 games, but it does have 1% above win rate, and the only difference is one more trusty companion instead of Magatha, and honestly I can get behind that change, because spending 5 mana for a Magatha and also giving the opponent a bunch of spells did not feel amazing. What this deck tries to do is it basically curves out like any Shaman would. It has a lot of tokeny stuff, and the way you win games is through sheer aggression and finishing off opponents with things like Thrall's Gift into Bloodlust around turn 6 or 7. And the cool thing about Sigil of Skydiving is you can actually stack a couple of them, so even on an empty board you can literally have 6 minions ready to go mouth with a Bloodlust on him, and that's like 24 extra damage that can go mouth. Not to mention you could even get some patches idiots on that same turn as well, so that would be a full board ready to go ham. You also have a couple of locations in here. We have Hosen, we have a weapon with which you can reset the location. So yeah, all around the deck is pretty powerful, and you can definitely check out my gameplay videos with it. Matchup wise, we don't really have enough stats on this one, so let's switch over to the Magatha variant. Like, still insane results, but the other one has 65% with 1,000 games, so it's still definitely noteworthy. And here we can check out the matchups, and yeah, everything is green. Corpse Skull deck, not so much, but nothing that scary either, so it's anyone's game. Mulligan wise, here's what people are holding on to. Going first, you are going to be looking for patches, obviously. Sigil is great, Murloc, Greedy, Gorgonzormo. Basically try to curve out. If you have a 1-drop Trusty, can be amazing. Hosen is usually great, especially if you have a Sigil. Cactus Cutter ain't too bad. The weapon, not that amazing honestly, but it's still something to do on turn 1. I wouldn't really straight up hold on to it though. And same goes for Pop-Up Book going first. Going second, however, Pop-Up becomes a bit more keepable if I gotta be honest. People still don't keep it much, but as you see, the win rate for it is actually a lot higher, because this thing gives you a removal for the opponent's 1-drop, as well as a couple of idiots on the board that protect anything you play after. Not to mention you can also just give it a Trusty Companion afterwards. We can still see Sigil pretty high, Murloc is fine, Greedy is okay, Gorgonzormo, Trusty if you have a 1-drop you think you're gonna be sticking, like let's say it would actually be amazing to pop a book into a Trusty, because that gives you your 4 mana Backstage Bouncer, which you could coin out on free. Hosen's still fine, especially with a Sigil. Basically, a lot of the same stuff. For other good Shaman decks, this is the one I showed you, and same results. This is the one we showed for the matchups, and this is the one from the video I gave you, so also definitely nothing to scoff at. We can also see plenty of Nostalgia Shamans, still pretty high on the win rates. We can see Asteroid Shaman, small sample size, big win rate however, and there are plenty of bigger sample size variants with not that big win rate, but still. And yeah, we can see plenty of iterations of these lists. Some people even run Braingill, because you do indeed have plenty of Murlocs, like Murloc Glowfin, like Cactus Cutter, like Cookie, and this one even utilizes some Murmy action, which definitely kind of fits into the deck, so yeah, it gives you plenty of card draw that way. So it is a great time to be a Shaman player right now. You can definitely go in all sorts of different ways and win with it, but it's mostly aggressive stuff. Highlander, nowhere to be seen now, because Reno got murdered. It's interesting there's no longer big shamans out there, like the big Razzler shamans used to be pretty nice not too long ago. Nowadays, they are not in the conversation, it seems. On the number 2 spot, we still have Zarimi Priest being definitely one of the best decks still. And this one is still the same variant I showed you from the last top 5. No real need to talk about it too much. I think the last one did not run the trusty fishing rod. This one does, so you can actually pull some 1-drops nice and quick like that. The deck is definitely amazing. I do have a guide about it from not too long ago. It's still with the 1-mana Funnel Cake. This one is actually not running Funnel Cake, so that is a little bit on the questionable side. I still believe you do utilize it nicely with the Clergy and such, but who knows, maybe it's not performing as well. So yeah, you can tempo out pretty quickly with this deck, or you could take your time and actually make a really big bomb turn on the Zarimi turn and best OTK people like that. As long as you play dragons nice and quick, it should also be a pretty fine thing to be doing. And on the Zarimi turn, you can make it a lot more inconvenient for the opponent. Like, if you go for a turn 7, turn 8 Zarimi, you could do things like had a Gorgonzormu cheese festering for like several turns and actually drop 3 5-drops like that with the Zarimi. A couple of 0-mana Thirsty Drifters, that kind of deal can be pretty brutal. So definitely consider how you can make the biggest, baddest board on that Zarimi turn so you can really make some significant damage on that turn. And obviously the Ziliax Heroes +1/-1. Matchup wise, everything from the popular ones is going to be good for you, so you have that going for you. We can also check out some similar variants that are running things like Power Chord and Shadow Ascendant. Those can be pretty nice. Other lists are still running the Funnel Cakes. Some lists still run Pip, so we have plenty of options for the Zarimi. Mulligan-wise, here's what we have, and yeah, I guess we don't run Funnel Cake because we actually have a hidden gem in here. I kinda did not see it. It was hidden, apparently. But going first, here's what people were gonna be looking for. You definitely want your good 1-drops, the Whelp Wrangler, Crimson Clergy can be great, and if you have the Clergy, you can be keeping things like the gem, like the Dreamboat. Gorgonzormu can be great, Orbital Halo, especially in the middle of your hand, could be amazing. Or as long as you know it's next to a 1-man or something you want to be playing nice and early, that'd be great. The Trusty can be nice. Scale Replicas, no okay thing to be doing top deck it, but I wouldn't straight up hold on to it. As for on the coin, again, we can see plenty of the 1-drops, the Whelp, the Crimson, Gorgonzormu. It's exactly the same cards, actually, literally card for card exactly, unbelievably exactly. Like, this is basically the cutoff, the weapon, and it's literally exact same situation. Kinda interesting stats, not gonna lie. For other good priest decks, we're gonna have to move through a lot of Zarimis till we can see Fishing Priest, which is some call it Cole's Priest, I don't know, I guess it's kind of the same thing. Another wave of Zarimis, more fishing, it's basically one or the other. Resurrect Priest is somewhat of a playable deck, nothing to write home about. And yeah, I guess for now we're just gonna be seeing aggressive priests, nothing really control-y picking up. On the number 3 spot, Elemental Mage is still in its element. The nerfs definitely didn't do that much to it. Lamplighters are still doing a significant amount of damage for them to be in the perfect 30. And we are running the Saroon package here as well, because that is kind of your main endgame win condition, as long as you haven't managed to actually zerg the opponent nice and early with your super efficient curve of stats. Not that much has changed from the list from before the nerfs. The only thing I'm noticing here is we're hard running a Rolling Stone instead of 1 less Star Slime, and I can get behind that. Nowadays it's not super important to curve out with a 1-drop, even though honestly the Rolling Stone does utilize you curving out with a 1-drop, so it kinda contradicts itself, but it gives you a little bit of a reaction thing, so you can actually answer the board if you fall behind. And everything else is really exactly how it used to be, so again, check out my guides and gameplay videos with it, coaching sessions, all of that good stuff. You can definitely get a lot of info like that. We can see Libram Pally and Dungar Druid are not gonna be bad for you, and we can switch over to the list without the Rolling Stone, but instead of Tar Slime, so we can really see the matchups. And here we can see Shamans are not going to be great, as well as Odin Warrior. Everything else, except for Corpse Skull Dick, is going to be pretty good. As for what people are holding on to, going first, here's what we can see. And you obviously still want to be keeping those 1-drops so you can curve out nicely. Aqua Archivist is still insane. Like, play this on turn 2 and you get to play at turn 3 Tainted Remnant, in which case, like, if you have this, you can definitely hold on to the Tainted. maybe even to the Saroon, so you can play this on turn 3 and follow up with Saroon on 4. Flame Revenant is amazing, Glacial is still a 1-drop, Shale Spider, if you already have a 1-drop, you can definitely be keeping things like this. Rolling Stone, I would only keep if you have a 1-drop. Blazing Aggression can be amazing, especially if you curve into it. Saroon, only keep if you have Aqua Archivist, I'd say. The rest probably never. As for on the coin, again, plenty of the same stuff. Saroon is even higher here, mainly because you can literally do it on turn 3 with the help of Archivist. Your 1-drop still MVP, the Flame Revenant, basically same stuff. For other good mage decks, plenty of the Elementals at the top. The variant with the Rolling Stone has more than 2% above the more popular 1 extra Turtle Slime variant, so probably is an improvement to the deck. But as you can see, nothing but Elemental Mages at the top spots. Big Spell Mage. Like, why is this thing still even here? This is the last 3 days, right? It is. Yeah, this is some messy stats, I guess, again. Or some people just did not get the memo and still ran the deck. Like, that's pretty stupid, but honestly, the sample size kinda tells me that some people just ran the deck as is to see if it still works without realizing that these cards do absolutely nothing in the deck. So yeah, it's nothing but Elemental Mages right now for the class. On number 4 spot, surprisingly, Spell Token Hunter has super good win rate with a decent sample size, so we are including it into this top 5, and this variant is with the Workhorse and the Saddle Up RC Rampage action. We don't really have anything new into this, which is kind of a damn shame, but this is the reality we still live in. And I guess this thing is still farming decks that are trying to figure out some new stuff, maybe. I don't know. Maybe it's just that good. Haven't really been seeing much of it in my ranks, but the stats for it definitely speak for itself. And with this one, you are pretty tokeny. You're like a Nostalgia Shaman, but instead of Wave of Nostalgia, you have Saddle Up, which makes you extremely hard to deal with. And you go very decently wide with the help of all of your cheap stuff that summons more minions than it should. We also have a couple of Jungle Gems for extra damage depending on how many beasts you have. You have a couple of Observer of Myths so you can buff the board. Couple of Patchwork Pals are super efficient as well. Gorgonzormo still gives you some nice cheese. Workhorse is definitely pretty nice. It's a cool sticky minion that slaps for 4 damage unless you deal with it, and then it still slaps for 4 damage unless you deal with that. So it is some pretty hard to deal with early game minion. And we again have Ziliax with +1/-1 as all tokeny decks would. Matchup wise, not that much stats for a good enough sample size here, but Dungar, Druid, and Libram Paladin are gonna be good for you. And no, the other lists are not that more populated, so we're not gonna be able to see good stats here. As for the mulligans, we can see that you still want to be curving out nicely. Basically, look for your 1-drops. Don't keep too many of them, obviously. You just want to be playing something on 1. Observer of Myths, not the worst thing in the world to tempo out. It's a 1/4, so plenty of opponents are going to have a hard time dealing with that. Gorgonzormo on curve is great, same with Workhorse. Barrel could be nice, especially if you have a Vicious Slitter Spear so you can protect that. Patchwork Pals is kind of nice. I would not straight up hold on to it, even though the win rate mulligan kind of speaks to it. It's your 5th best win rate card, but I'm not sure if the sample size is good enough. We can also see Agramar in the top spots, even though nobody ever kept it. So that's kind of weird, so I would still be looking at the kept rate instead. And as for on the coin, we can see again, try to be curving out nicely. Observer here, not as amazing of a keep, I'd say. Gorgonzormo still nice. The rest looks kind of the same. RC Rampage also definitely a lot more keepable here because you get to coin it out on turn 3 and that can be massive. For other good Hunter decks, this is the list I showed you. 1100 games, 61% win rate, definitely worth checking. And Discovery Hunter has been also picking up in Top Legend at least. It's not the easiest deck to do well with, but we can see plenty of different iterations of it doing reasonably well, nothing insane. Trample Hunter is also another thing that has been picking up as somewhat of a new archetype. It's definitely a new archetype. You're still utilizing Always Bigger Germonger as your win condition here, but you're actually using things like Warsong Grunt for your vessel. And you get the buff it nice and big with Ranger Gilly, with Char, with this reserved spot, and also with Bird Watching, so you can make it nice and big. I still feel like Hollow Hound should be included in the list, like it's a nice control-y minion as well as a potential lethal out for you, but this is what this one runs. Here we can see a similar variant with a single death roll kind of deal. Breakfast Hunter is still playable, as you can see, not that bad, 55, small sample size though. So those would be your options for Hunter right about now. And last we also have Pirate Demon Hunter. Kind of a shame, honestly. Everything is basically super high aggressive decks in this top 5, so yeah, this is the world we live in. Everybody's trying to finish the game nice and quick. And this again is basically like the Pirate Shaman I showed you, but in a different voice basically. This is the Pain variant with Brain Masseuse, with Acupuncture, with Arana. So you could cheat out a little bit of extra damage that way, even though for Arana to be going face that way, she has to be on the board, and the opponent needs to have nothing on the board if you want everything to be going face that way. This list again runs absolutely nothing new. The only difference I see from lists from before is it has a Spectral Sight, only a single Treasure Distributor. You're still running Hot Coals, both the Hosen and the South Sea Captain. Location obviously, Kane is also included, as well as Metamorphosis. And again, Zeliax is +1/-1. The deck is definitely not too hard to get used to. It's gonna take you a few days to figure it out. Don't get baited into thinking you tempo the Acupuncture. You try to use this as a finisher, or you try to use it when you have Arana on the board. Brain Masseuse is something you always tempo as soon as you can. You don't care about the damaging yourself part that much. And also, Hot Coals is a pretty decent way for you to clear the board as well as get extra damage to the face, like it's free damage if you took damage yourself. So that can be nice. And setting up massive turns with your location with the help of Hulls and South Sea, Adrenaline Fiend is also pretty key for you to get some very good damage in the opponent. Treasure Distributor as well. The cool thing about this deck is you don't even need to be sticking a board to be dealing massive amounts of damage to the opponent's face, so even if they manage to clear your board after board, you still usually manage to refill after refill, especially with the help of the location, the sigil, that kind of deal. Matchup-wise, we can see you're not going to be that great against rogues, but everything else is great, so you got that going for you. And as for the mulligan, name of the game is again try to curve out. Patch is obviously MVP, Sigil is great, Brain Masseuse, Treasure Distributor going first is great, going second not so much. Same can be said for the Sock Puppet. Hosen is absolutely huge if you have a Sigil already. The weapon is okay, don't overkeep it honestly. It's an okay thing to do on turn 2, but it's not the thing you want to be doing on turn 2, especially going first. Same can be said for Adrenaline Fiend. The spirit of the team is fine, especially if you already have a Sock Puppet. The rest probably not so much, even though the location, if you're curving into it, you can definitely consider. And as for on the coin, here it's going to be slightly different. Sock Puppet a lot less keepable. I mean, people still keep the shit out of it, it's just not that great. Treasure Distributor is still fine of a keep? That's kind of weird. Honestly, when going second, I'd rather hold this guy for the location turns or something like that. The weapon here is a bit better. Adrenaline Fiend far worse. Spirit of the team kind of fine still if you have the Sock. And the location is a lot more keepable here as well. And honestly, Zeliax can be a lot more keepable in certain situations. Like if you already have a Sigil, Zeliax definitely is a part of the conversation in that case. Like patches into Sigil usually means Zeliax as soon as turn 3, and that can be absolutely huge. For other good Demon Hunter decks, the one I showed you is this one. 2,000 games, 61% win rate. It's pretty amazing, and we have several different iterations of basically that on the top as well. I'm not sure what this thing is doing at the top, 65.8, only 200 games though. It's kind of close again to the Pirate Demon Hunter, but it also has some Starship Crew and Starship action involved, so honestly it looks kind of weird, honestly it looks kind of like a fluke. We can see plenty of different Pirate Demon Hunters as well. Pain Demon Hunter is also something to look out for. It's a pretty interesting archetype. No, this is actually... what the hell is this even? Apparently it's a lot more popular again, but it is some kind of aggressive Demon Hunter as well. But I was more talking about the Among Us Demon Hunter, I think they call it, which basically goes deep into fatigue with Arana on the board, and you basically deal damage to the opponent. Like you equip the Outcast weapon that draws you cards, and then you plop Arana and break the weapon, and that makes murderous amounts of fatigue damage to the opponent. But I'm actually not seeing it here, which is kind of weird. Oh, that's why I'm not seeing it. It's absolute dog shit for most people. Well, that makes sense. Okay, so that's it for the top 5 classes. Let's let's actually see the popularity for each class right now. We can see in Legend, Libram Paladin. We can see in Legend, Libram Pally, Dungar, Druid, and Space Rogue are the most popular archetypes. Asteroid, Shaman, Weapon Rogue, Hand Warlock, Zarimi Priest. Yeah, we can see quite the significant amount of the top 4. The rest are a bit more fairly distributed. In Diamond 1, we can see, again, a little bit of the same stuff. Weapon Rogues, Zarimi Priest, and Elemental Mage and Asteroid. Shaman do have a bigger representation here, but Libram and Dungar are at the top still. Same with Diamond 2. Diamond 3, pretty much same stuff. In Diamond 4, we can see a lot more of the same. And Diamond 5, we can see even things like Odin Warrior. Well, I guess that's why you're in Diamond 5. You still try to play Odin Warrior, but then again, maybe you're facing a lot more Elemental Mages, even though Elemental Mage is even less popular there, so there's that. And moving down to the classes we haven't mentioned, starting off with Death Knight. Corpsekull Death Knight is still your best bet, but the class definitely took a hit from the last patch, apparently. Like, the nerfs kind of seemed small, but apparently not that small, and we can see less than 60% for all of its archetypes right now, and the main one would still be Corpsekull Dick. Highlander Rainbow is still playable, about 55 though. So those would be your 2 main options. For Druid Dungar, Druid definitely almost made it into the list again. For Druid Dungar, Druid definitely almost made it into the list, but as you saw, the 5th deck was with 61+% win rate, so this is 60.5. Definitely, if you enjoy Druid, you should be playing it. It's super amazing, super satisfying to get those beefy stats. Definitely not satisfying for the opponent. I can definitely show empathy to that, but yeah, that's what the situation is, either hyper aggro or hyper value kind of deal. We can also see Treant Druid somewhat up there. Smaller sample size, smaller win rate than the others, 420, noise. Also Tom Druid is up there, but not as close as Dungar is. As for other meaningful variants for it, Highlander Druid is actually received a stealth buff and obviously an obvious nerf, but Reno not removing your Highlander nonsense with Ray Straza definitely makes it a lot more enjoyable to plop it, and the rest is iterations of those. For Paladin, as you can see, we have massive stats, massive win rates, but again, not above 61%, and Handbuff Paladin is the best bet with massive sample size. This one has a bit of a tech situation in with Razor Scales, with a couple of customs enforcers. We can also see things like Flood Pally somewhat on the rise, still not proven too much, but they are definitely up there. Libram Paladins with the Tourist are definitely the way to go as well. And that is about it, isn't it? Pipsy Paladin is here. I'm trying to see if it's running any of the stupid stuff. No, it's straight up Pipsy Pally. Still tier 2-ish, but nowhere near as good as the others, I guess, so there's that. And the bottom stuff is plenty of the same, but with worse iterations. With Rogues, this thing has insane win rate. I'm assuming some top Legend player was cruising through the ranks, because they know how to play the shit out of this thing. And top Legend, you can also see plenty of Spellburst Rogue. And it is super miserable to play against this thing. Even though this is a weird variant, it's not even running the South Sea deckhand, so I guess it's just zerging out tons of stats with the Buccaneer or something like that. Weapon Rogue is also up there, but the first real big sample size is another iterations of Weapon Rogue. We can see Mech Rogue is definitely up there. I tried it myself. It was kinda, I might give you a video about it in the next few days. But it definitely felt a little bit on the awkward side. You can definitely have a lot of non-games with this deck, like you basically curve out like an absolute god or like absolute dog water, so nothing in between kind of deal. We can also see Starship Rogue somewhere. Surely we can see some Starship Rogue. Yeah, here's a Space Rogue, apparently that's how we're calling it. Plenty of people are trying it, it's definitely pretty fun, but so far from Diamond to Legend it's just not as amazing. In Top Legend we can also see plenty of Psycho Rogues, Combo Rogues, Infinity Giant Rogues, like some pretty obnoxious crap, and in most cases Sonya is to blame, so I would definitely expect her to be the next Toxic Quasar style card to be getting the nerf. Moving down with Warlock. Pain Warlock I did try in Top Legend, did manage to squeeze in 3 quick wins, but it also has plenty of bad games, so it is kind of a hit and miss. Definitely still A nice quick aggro deck to be climbing fast with, but not as good as it used to be, I'd say. Hand Wheel Warlock is decent, not in top legend, but decent enough from Diamond to legend, I'd say. Wouldn't really try too hard to be climbing with it to legend though, but if you really enjoy the class, it is capable. And lastly we have Warrior, with Odin Warrior still at the top of the class. Dummy Warrior also decent, with several different iterations, and that's about it. Highlander, not amazing anymore, like not even close. So that's gonna be it for this top 5, guys. Hope this helps you figure out what you want to be playing in the new Hearthstone meta. And if you found the video helpful, drop a like and subscribe to the channel, and don't forget to get hammered for some Hearthstone coaching. Thanks for watching, I'm Kris05, and I'll see you in my next video or stream.